All right, we're back and running. Sorry about this. I started this before I had a crash, so this is take two. Welcome on the glide slope. Today, just a quick virtual reality review of the new AFM Mooney Ovation package. This is the Ovation 2. The package also comes with the Ovation 3 and the Acclaim. I've been flying the M20P, the Ovation from Coronado, Alabama for the past couple of months. I've liked it a lot. I had tried the trial for the AFM Mooney, and I thought the flight characteristics were much more realistic, but the visual models weren't quite where I wanted them to be yet. But it is now out of demo testing and is in full release. So we're on here on the virtual ramp in Jackson Hole. You can see the Tetons there in the background. And I thought we'd just take a look. So first of all, the package ships with several liveries. Let me switch through them here for you. There's also, which is difficult for me to show you right now, there's also a whole set of, there's a maintenance menu where there's random failures across different maintenance issues with the airplane, as well as the ability to have things just degrade naturally over time, so they need repair. Things like wheels, brakes, starter motor, batteries, those kinds of things. The battery and oxygen levels can need to be replenished. There's a full weight and balance manager, which is quite realistic. So a lot of cool things if you want to bring a lot of realism to your aircraft. In terms of the liveries, I'll just sort of cycle through them. There are 6 or 7. It takes a second to load them. The liveries are all pretty cool. There's a mixture of kind of contemporary liveries like this one, as well as a few that are more old school. One of the things that AFM will do, that's a nice one, is if you, there's additional liveries online that you can purchase, so there's a lot of options out there that you can get, and then into that, they'll also do custom N numbers for you, so if you wanted to customize the N number or the tail number for your aircraft, they'll do that. I like that one. That's a look we're probably going to go with. There's also the ability to create custom liveries, so for a fee, they will actually create a livery that's based on your design, and that's all pretty cool. In a second here, we'll get a little. There's the stock unpainted livery. In a second here, we'll get a little closer, but you can see that there's static objects that come with the airplane as well: cones, chocks, tie-down ropes, pitot cover tube, inlet covers, and you're able to remove all of those, or you're able to remove them singularly if you like. So in terms of being able to do sort of a virtual walk around, that's a cool look. It's a little easier to, it's something that you can start to simulate. One thing that they get really well, I think, are the textures and the details on the airplane. I'm going to go back to that blue version. I thought it was kind of cool. Here's the one after this. Little things, as I'll show you when we walk around it, in terms of details on the exterior textures. The reflective metal textures look great. So in terms of just look, it's a good looking airplane. I also don't know if you noticed, but the interior leather and upholstery also changed with the different looks. So we'll just kind of do a virtual walk around here. You can see the quality of the reflective textures, the detail on the prop is very sharp, looks great. They have the inlets rendered well. Wow, I'm having a virtual reality headset issue here all of a sudden. All right, there we go. Every once in a while the riff sort of freaks out. Moonies are very slippery. The rivets are all recessed. Kind of has that look, but there's some, you can see the occasional small dent, which makes it look pretty realistic. We'll go back here and check out the empennage. The trim tabs look real. We can open the baggage compartment. There's the airworthiness certificate and registration in there, which is a good, nice touch. Can't quite see what that is. And of course we can Open the door. Take a look in. I'm going to move that X-pad in a second, but you can see the quality of the upholstery and the leather textures. So there's the fire extinguisher back there in the back seat. So the thing looks sharp. There's no doubt about that. Let's get in. Okay, so we're inside. Move this thing out of the way. And we'll just kind of look around for a minute. Oh, one thing you can do, let me hop out again, is you can take all these static objects away. So if I go into the plugin menu, we can either singularly or all at the same time take out the external objects. So we'll remove them. And then also, I don't know if you noticed, but you can also select your GPS package. So if you have the Reality XP, GNS 530 or 430 or the GTN 750, 650 package, you can switch with just a click between those two GPS packages, which I'll show you in a second. I don't have my GTN 750 plugin running, so we wouldn't actually be able to run it, be able to see what happens in the panel. All right, we'll get in. Okay, let me click a few things here. Interior textures, I think, are far improved from where they were originally. They've come a long way. For some reason, I've got the, there we go, yoke's turned off. So I'll show you the GPS here in just a second. We can switch these GPS units out with just a click. So if we wanted to run the GTN 750, there it is. And if we wanted to run the 650, there that is. And it just swaps them out, 3D. And then if you have the Reality XP software, it'll run those units. We're going to be running the GNS, so let's get that fixed. And it looks, and as you can see, it can accommodate both of them because it puts the nav panel up there behind the annunciation panel. Get our GNS 430 back. Okay. So, you know, textures are great. Things look really good. The glass looks very realistic. It looks great in 3D. It's, in some respects, perhaps not quite as beautiful in terms of the textures as the Alabeo. There are some small features missing, like the Alabeo has, I think, more detail on the side lights here. It has the ability, it's got a noise canceling switch there. But having a Rift moment. Come on, baby. Doesn't like me looking over there for some reason. You can clearly open the side window. Almost everything in the cockpit is clickable, including certain things that in the Alabeo and Carenado are not clickable. Sorry about that. So we're in a pretty good spot here for me to start testing things out. We'll just do a quick loop here. We're, like I said, at Jackson Hole. And if the virtual reality headset issues continue, I don't know what I'm going to do, but so far it seems like I can probably live with it if you can. I need to get adjust just a little bit here my seating in the airplane. No, this is good enough. We can see. Okay, so just about everything in the cockpit is clickable. So everything from the parking brake, which is on, cabin vent, you can pull all of this on to its different levels. You can turn the fuel tank. The individual fuses punch, which is cool. It's got the ELT. It really is well put together in terms of everything in the cockpit being very realistic. So the one thing I've noticed is, for some reason, for me, the flap switch doesn't go. And maybe that's something I haven't figured out. Maybe it doesn't go if the parking brake is on. I can't imagine that that's something that they would miss, but seems that they have. So I'm not quite sure what that's about, but We'll go ahead and fire things up, and we'll take it for a quick loop, and I'll give you some input in terms of how it flies. All right. It has F-mod sounds, so great 3D sounds throughout the aircraft. Sounds great, very realistic. Full lights. We'll move to nighttime a little later, so I can show you the lighting, maybe when we're taxiing back. But everything works really as it should. Let's turn on our elevator trim. Turn on our avionics. Unlike the Alabeo, which doesn't have working COM1 and COM2 buttons, this aircraft does. We'll just get the ATIS real fast here from Jacksonville using Avatab. Our GPS is up and running. Again, it's the 750, so it's very realistic. Let's turn on our transponder. We can turn on the ADF if we want. The 3D clickable cockpit in VR works really, really well. I'm quite impressed with it. That is, if I can get my controller to work. As you would expect, sounds are louder when you open doors and windows. ATIS 120.62.
Jackson Hole Information X-ray. 2000 Zulu weather.
So just to show you,
wind calm, visibility more than 10.
as you would hope,
Sky clear, temperature
COM2
21,
and COM1 can
dew
work
point 7.
simultaneously.
Altimeter 3025. Arriving runway 01, departing runway 01. Advise on initial contact, you have X-ray.
So we'll turn on COM2, switch it over.
Jackson Hole Information
We've got
X-ray.
COM2 running,
2000 Zulu weather.
which is good. So that's all working. Even has the working
Jackson
mic
Hole
switches, just as you'd expect to see. So this is all working. DME, Nav1, Nav2, test buttons, the test for the annunciators work, the bright dim switch works the way you would expect. It's really very slick. So from a panel perspective, I'm quite impressed. We obviously don't have our autopilot on, but we could if we wanted to. So there you go. It's an excellent interior package and as close to real life as you could probably expect to get. I've mapped the trim tab to the switch here, and I've also mapped on my real life yoke the speed brakes. So if we push the button, you can see the speed brakes go, which are great. And then again, you can see the fuel tank indicator, and it moves as you lose fuel. So that's all very, very cool. Do just a quick run up here. You can simulate the drop in RPM from the mag check. So all that stuff works the way you'd expect it to, throttling the prop and the rest. I didn't get an altimeter check though.
Jackson Hole Information X-ray. 2000 Zulu weather. Wind 270 at 10, gust 17, visibility more than 10. Sky clear, temperature 22, dew point 1. Altimeter 3024. Arriving runway 19,
3024.
departing runway 19. Advise on initial contact you have X-ray.
Okay. So departing 19, that's down that way if I remember. So yeah, this all works. The OBS works the way it should. If you are wanting to use an OBS function, it ties the GNS really well. Oh, come on. I should have just hit the direct button, but okay. One thing I notice is these numbers, or these dials, turn a little more naturally than they do in other aircraft. So if I go to OBS here, you can see you've got your OBS line there, and as I turn the OBS here, it works. So we can set it to 19 also, and it'll show us our runway heading. So panel and avionics, everything works really, really well. Also, the de-ice functions work. Elevator trim, rudder trim, everything really works really well. So I've mapped the flaps to a physical switch in my cockpit. Animations are solid. Prop animation is really good. All right, so let's go. One of the first things I noticed is that it steers a lot more like a real airplane steers in the real world. You have to use differential braking to turn the airplane on any kind of a dime, just like the real world. And in fact, of all the planes that I've flown GA aircraft in X-plane, I would say that the Ovation from AFM is the most realistic in terms of ground handling. I haven't tried it in real weather vaning conditions, but I would assume it works just fine. But that's the first thing I noticed the first time I took it up, is I really needed to drive it with my feet the way I would really drive an airplane with my feet. The motion of the aircraft over the ground, the way it simulates the bumps in the tarmac, is quite real. This is the GBP 500. He's a guy that makes airports. He sells a package of airports for 50 or 60 bucks. He's got dozens of airports, usually most of them in the West. But his Jackson Hole is really good. I was just in Jackson Hole a couple days ago, and looks just like the real thing. It's really, really well done. Looks like he wasn't able to simulate the elk antlers over that doorway though. But you got the Jackson Hole logo, right? While I'm doing this, I might as well bring in the chat window, because I am streaming this live, and it may be that some folks have some questions. See if I can do 3 things at once. All right, there we go. Let me just see if we have any questions about the airplane. Hey guys. Yeah, Ian, it's good to see you. Everything's fine here. Thank you for asking. Colin, you're going to like it. Wait until we fly it here in a minute. I'll tell you, it flies very differently than the Alabama. Very differently. We could have tuned into Pilot Edge for this and gotten a little real air traffic control action, but I decided not to. Also, for what it's worth, I just updated to the most recent X-plane, and I think I got about 30 frames. I went from averaging about 90 frames on the ramp to getting about 120. And I don't know why, but I don't care. I'm not going to ask a lot of questions. It's good by me. Well, from looking at this windsock, if we wondered whether or not we were going to have weather veining conditions, we're going to find out here in a second.
Jackson Hole information X-ray. 2000 Zulu weather. Wind 270 at 10, gust 17.
270.
Visibility more than 10.
Okay,
Sky clear. Temperature 22. Dew point 1.
We will
altimeter 3024.
Steer into the wind.
Arriving runway 19. Departing runway 19. Advise on initial.
Okay. So we're going to do just a quick loop of the pattern. Maybe climb a little higher. I might see if we can stall how the airplane stalls real quick, and then come back and make a landing. I've already done one quick pattern loop. One of the big critiques about the Alabeo for me is landing performance. We'll talk about that in a second. I would say that that problem is not a problem here with this airplane. Okay. All right, so I think if I remember the checklist, we go about 10 flaps on takeoff, gears down, everything's green. Let's get our power set appropriately, just so that we don't get short of power here at high density altitude. We just gotta lean the mixture a little bit. Look at the way that dial is shaking with the RPMs. That was quite real. It's about this power there. Prop. Cycled the prop before. Everything else is ready to go. I'm using the Rift. Any freezing issues with 11.2.5 when quitting from VR? No, I've gone in and out of VR without many problems, but that doesn't mean it's not going to happen. All right, so we'll just go do a little flight here. And we'll see what kind of weather veining performance we get. I'm getting quite good performance though. I'm getting my standard 45 frames. So it doesn't seem to be hurting me very bad that way. The distinctive lettering here is very cool. Okay, wind from 270. All right, we're driving into the wind. Feel the weather veining. I'm having to use left rudder quite a bit. I can tell you that in the real world, I'm sorry, when I did the flight the first time without that crosswind, I needed a lot of right rudder on takeoff, just as you would expect. Here's our density altitude working against us. See how the wind is blowing us. That's funny. Okay, so some weather veining, but on the whole, for a 17-knot crosswind takeoff, that probably was about as crazy as it should be in the real world. All right, so the sounds are great. I think you heard the gear go up. That sounded cool. Flaps up. Now the first thing I'll say is that in terms of flight model, the flight model feels much more realistic than the Alabeo. Mooney's, I've never flown in one, but they've got a reputation for being slippery, and the airplane feels slippery. It adjusts very quickly and easily to rudder inputs. It's a little more stable on the ailerons. I might have my settings set that way. Anyway, I might have my rudder be a bit more sensitive because of the ground handling characteristics. But in terms of just how it's moving through the air, it certainly feels like it's a fast airplane. Get a little more altitude here, then we'll see if we can stall it. This is the AFM, in fact, Filippo, and we're doing a quick review for it. Colin, I almost did the I-1 rating today. I'm getting ready to do some I ratings and start doing some IFR practice. Okay, so we would be about 50 degrees rich of peak in EGT. And that was for it's definitely showing the difference of being in altitude here. So we'd probably be about right in there. Okay, and we'd be back at about 2400 RPM for cruise. So in terms of cruise performance, this all feels about right. We'll trim the airplane out. And now it'll start to speed up. It feels a lot like a real airplane, especially in VR, and the graphics now are quite good. Did it take me a while to get used to VR? Yeah, it took me a little while to get used to it. In fact, it did. But I just noticed I can hear the elevator trim go when I use it. All right, so now we're starting to speed up as we're in cruise. All right, so let's see if we can stall the airplane. The Carenado is hard to stall. We'll slow down, get into the wide arc, put in some flaps. The Carenado sort of hung on its prop. I don't know if that's what the real bird does or not, but we'll try it out. We don't have a lot of altitude to gain to deal with, so we're going to have to try not to kill ourselves here, at least in the virtual world. Okay, get in some flaps. Okay, airplane is doing okay. Let's keep slowing her down. So it should give me a low speed warning here in a second. That's what the Carenado does. Trimming. Get that elevator trim in. The airplane is feeling mushy. It feels real to me. That's the gear warning. There's our stall warning. Very mushy. There's our brake. I didn't feel buffets. We'll try it again. Some of it is because I had to hold on to the panel with one hand. Definitely need rudder pressure to steer the airplane here. That's quite real. It's not braking. There it goes. It wants to spin, but the nose doesn't drop. Now I'll have to read online and see if that's what the real bird does. So it definitely wanted to go sideways, but it didn't want to pitch down. So we'll have to read about that. Okay. Coming back up. Grand Teton there. Fix our trim. really easy to see everything. It feels more precise than the Alabeo for sure. Definitely for me, it's a very realistic feeling flight model. My hands are off the stick now. The airplane's moving around quite a bit, as you can see. It's a little more responsive to the air, I think, than the Carenado is. Let's practice a steep turn here. Steep turn feels fast. This feels like a real steep turn to me. I did this the other day in the Carenado. It felt slow and sluggish. Let's roll out the other way. I just got a little dizzy doing that. Notice the reflections. Reflections off the cowl. Looks fantastic. Snake River. Okay. So let's try landing performance. One of the things I don't like about the Carenado, although I've had a lot of fun flying it, is that it is, looks like the range buttons aren't working yet on the GPS, so there's a bug. Carenado, you have to keep power in all the way. That once if you take it out of the manifold pressure below about 7, it falls out of the sky. And so the idea of coming in and then here, let's use our speed brakes. Those are cool. The idea of coming in out of the manifold pressure and then rolling out of the throttle as you land to then be basically dead stick landing, you just really can't do. I just realized we're doing this with a big crosswind, aren't we? You really can't. That sounds great. That sounds very real. You can't do in the Carenado. Gears down and locked. Slowing down. So my one little hop I did with this airplane, looks like we've got 2 white and 2 red now. That's good. It really felt like it was landing the way I wanted it to land. I rolled out of the throttle and it dropped just like it should. We're a little close here to have the gear out, but that's okay. I feel like the airplane is definitely moving around a lot. The sound model is great. Turn on my butt kicker. Stay on. All right, well, we'll abandon it. Okay, 1 notch flaps. The glide slope looking good. So plane's moving around a lot. That feels quite real to me. Start slowing her down. Messing with the glide, I was messing with the butt kicker. Okay. We're crabbing. I think it's right around 80 is where you want to be in this airplane. I'll have to read the POH, so the numbers are spot on. We'll crab, and then we'll kick over at the last second, and then pretty soon here we'd look to roll out, keep this wing down, and like about now I'd start to roll out of the throttle, and the other airplane would just fall out of the sky. This one seems to be much better. Much better. Now, it still has the weather veining problem that is part of the X-plane issue. That's an X-plane issue. It just, ground handling for GA aircraft is just weird in X-plane right now. I'm going to go in and take out the wind, although I was pretty proud of that crosswind landing. So that felt really real to me on landing. I had to really pull the plane back and hold it off there at the last second. I was able to roll out of the throttle. It didn't fall completely out of the sky like a rock. What I'll do here is I'll take off the wind real quick so we don't have to hassle with that. And then we'll also change the time. Let's delete. Let's just give ourselves a little benign 2-knot wind, and let's make it darker so we can try out some lights and see how the lights work and how they look, especially in VR. All right, it's dark now, isn't it? I think I want it to be. Well, that's all right. It can be dark. So first of all, let's turn on strobes. We'll turn those on when we're actually nav lights, rotating beacon. Okay, and taxi lights. And then over here we have panel lighting, which is quite good. Instrument lighting, which we already have on. And down here, we've got some cabin lighting. So, a little bit of panel lighting is all we want. And we'll go do a quick loop and get a sense of how the lights work. The lights in the Carenado were really, really bright, unrealistically bright to me. And the panel lighting just didn't look great. The panel lighting in this airplane looks spectacular. I mean, this looks just fantastic. Really impressed. It also has the recognition lights. We're flying at night. You can see those right there. Do a midfield. Oh, we're down at the end anyway. There's the de-icing pad. Okay, so do a quick loop, stay in the pattern, another landing so we can see how the landing lights and stuff look upon final, and then we'll be out of here. Kind of all over the place here. X-plane looks so good at night, it blows my mind. Okay. Strobes. Taxi lights off. Landing lights on. Much brighter. Yeah, I'll say it again. One of the most notable things for me so far is ground performance. It feels very real. 10 flaps. Make sure our speed brakes. We landed with our speed brakes on. That's probably dangerous. lined up here on 19er at Jackson Hole. And we'll give her power. Density altitude. You're up. Stutter there. Flaps up. Flaps handle is stuck on something. There we go. Turn. See how great you can see the rivets reflecting off the strobe. That's kind of a cool effect. Don't know how realistic it is, but it's cool. Feel like I'm, oh no, I just teleported out of the airplane. When I get back in, there we go. Feel like we're losing engine power for some reason. I wonder if I have an emergency that I don't recognize. Sure seems like it. What I'm missing in this airplane, but I'm missing something. Got plenty of fuel. Fuel flow is steadily dropping. Carburetor heat is not a problem in this aircraft. We're going to start aiming at the runway. Well, that's part of this thing, is it's realistic. It's meant to be realistic. So it may be simulating a boost pump, maybe. Let's try the boost pump. See if that helps. Doesn't seem to. Fuel flow is steadily dropping though. So we're going to have an engine out here in just a second. Gear down. I don't know what the problem is, but nothing wrong with simulating an emergency. So watch our speed. Might have to land on the taxiway. We are going to land on the taxiway. I don't think we're going to make it to the runway. Be interesting to see what broke. Something broke. We're just barely going to survive though. It sounds like I left, I don't know, boost pump. I don't know what the problem is. But we ruined the motor, that's for sure. Let's make it daytime and see if we can figure out what happened. So that's one of the cool things about this airplane, is it's got it's got simulated failures. So let me see if I can see what happened in the failure department, and then we'll finish our stream. Okay, so it looks like, from looking at the aircraft menu, or the maintenance menu, what happened? Engine failure. Just says failed. Doesn't tell me why. So it simulated an engine failure on us. I noticed the loss of power. We were able to land, luckily. And we're down. So, yeah, I don't know. Doesn't tell me what. It just tells me the engine failed. I just repaired it. But hey, part of the fun of flying this airplane. So that's a quick review. Here we are on the tarmac of the really solid AFM Mooney Ovation. Enjoy flying the airplane a lot, and just like that, I mean, that was about as realistic as it could be in a lot of different dimensions. So it's available online. It's a whole package. I'd encourage you to check it out if you want a slippery and fun to fly GA aircraft for X-Plane. This is a wonderful one to have, and I can't say anything more than it is highly recommended. So thanks for watching on the glide slope. Thanks for going on that adventure with me, and we all got down safe. So thanks again, and we'll see you on the next stream.